The night air in Willow Creek, North Carolina, carried a faint chill, the kind that hinted at autumn's approach. Dr. Lena Harper, 42, director of the state's Office of Police Accountability, steered her silver Lexus down Cypress Lane, a quiet stretch flanked by towering pines and modest bungalows. It was 9:17 p.m., and Lena was bone-tired not just from the day's marathon of budget meetings and case reviews, but from the relentless weight of her role. For 8 years, she'd led investigations into police misconduct, earning respect and enemies in equal measure. Her phone buzzed in the console, a text from her teenage daughter. "Aisha, Mom, you coming home soon? Made tacos." Lena smiled faintly, her first real moment of warmth all day. Then, a flash of blue lights pierced her rearview mirror. Her stomach tightened, not from fear, but from instinct honed by years of reading complaints and watching body cam footage. She signaled, eased onto the grassy shoulder, and cut the engine. Her hands rested on the wheel at 10:02, a habit from her days as a beat cop in Raleigh before she traded her uniform for a law degree and a mission to reform the system from within. She tapped her phone's record button, setting it face down, on the passenger seat, and waited. The cruiser's door thudded open. Heavy boots crunched the gravel, and a silhouette approached her window. "Evening, ma'am," came a drawl, clipped and overly formal. Lena turned to meet the gaze of Officer Trent Carver, mid-30s, broad-shouldered, with a buzz cut and a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. His name tag glinted under the streetlight. "You know why I pulled you over?" "No, officer," Lena said, her voice steady, professional. "I'd like to know." Carver leaned closer, one hand on his belt. "You were doing 42 in a 35. Speeding's a safety issue round here." His eyes flicked over her tailored blazer, the leather interior of her car, her composed expression as if searching for something to latch onto. "I wasn't speeding," Lena replied calmly. "I was at 34, per the speedometer. Is there another issue?" Carver's jaw twitched. He didn't like the pushback. "License, registration, proof of insurance." Lena moved deliberately, retrieving the documents from her glove box and handing them over. Carver scanned them, lingering on her license. "This your car, Ms. Harper?" "Dr. Harper," she corrected, her tone neutral. "Yes, it's mine." He raised an eyebrow. "Doctor, huh? What kind?" "You live round here." The questions were probing, irrelevant, a fishing expedition she'd seen described in countless reports. "I'm in law enforcement oversight," Lena said, sidestepping the bait. "I'm headed home from work." Carver's smirk returned. "Step out of the vehicle, please." Lena's pulse quickened, not from nerves, but from calculation. "Am I being detained, officer?" "Just need to check a few things," he said. Stepping back, "You match a description, possible stolen vehicle reported nearby." The excuse was flimsy. Textbook. Lena's phone was still recording. "I'd prefer to stay in the vehicle unless you have probable cause," she said, her voice like steel wrapped in velvet. Carver's eyes narrowed. "Ma'am, I'm giving you a lawful order." His hand hovered near his radio, a subtle threat. Lena reached into her purse, slow and deliberate, and pulled out her badge, not her driver's license, but the embossed seal of the Office of Police Accountability. "Dr. Lena Harper, Director," she said, holding it up. "Your body cam is on, I presume." Carver froze. His gaze locked on the badge. For a split second, his confidence cracked, but he recovered quickly. "Don't matter who you are. Step out." Lena didn't flinch. "Officer Carver, you've alleged speeding without evidence and a stolen vehicle without specifics. I'm documenting this interaction, and I suggest you reconsider your approach." The air grew thick with tension. Carver circled her car, his boots kicking up dust. "Mind if I look inside?" "I do mind," Lena said. "No probable cause. No consent." Her eyes never left him, tracking every move. He stopped at her trunk, tapping it with his knuckles. "You're acting real defensive for someone in oversight. Got something to hide?" "My problem," Lena said, her voice cutting through the night, "is that you're escalating a routine stop into harassment. That's not protocol, it's personal." Carver's radio crackled, a dispatcher's voice breaking the standoff. He hesitated, then stepped back. "All right, Dr. Harper," he sneered. you're free to go. But watch your speed next time." Lena didn't respond. She started her car, pulled back onto the road, and drove off, her grip tight on the wheel. She didn't head home. Instead, she took a detour through Willow Creek's quiet streets, letting her thoughts settle. By the time she parked in her driveway, a neat 2-story home with a rose garden Aisha tended, she'd already drafted the report in her mind. This wasn't about her, it was about every person who'd faced Carver's badge without her authority to push back. Inside, Aisha greeted her with a hug. "Tacos are cold, but I'll microwave them," she said, eyeing her mom's tense expression. "Bad day?" Lena set her bag down, the weight of the badge still heavy in her pocket. "Just another day, baby," she said, forcing a smile. But as she sat at her kitchen table, replaying the footage on her phone, she knew Officer Trent Carver had just made a mistake that would ripple far beyond that roadside. The next morning, Lena arrived at the Office of Police Accountability in downtown Raleigh before the sun cleared the horizon. Her corner office, lined with law books and framed photos of Aisha's dance recitals, felt like a sanctuary. She uploaded the footage from her phone to a secure server, time-stamped and encrypted, then began typing her report. Every word was precise, every detail clinical. The time 9:17 p.m. The location Cypress Lane, Carver's allegations speeding, stolen vehicle, and his refusal to de-escalate. She didn't embellish. The truth was damning enough. By 8 a.m., her assistant, Marcus Tate, a sharp 28-year-old with a knack for spotting patterns in data, knocked on her door. "Morning, boss," he said, handing her a coffee. "You look like you didn't sleep long." "Night," Lena said, gesturing to her monitor. "Pull Carver's file." Marcus raised an eyebrow but didn't press. Within minutes, he returned with a thin folder. "Trent Carver, Willow Creek PD, 7 years on the force, decent arrest numbers." But he trailed off, pointing to a list of complaints. A 2019 incident involving a black teenager detained for suspicious loitering. A 2021 grievance from a Latina driver alleging verbal intimidation. And a 2023 transfer request from a rookie who cited Carver's hostile conduct. None had led to discipline. "Patterns clear," Lena said, her voice low. "Why's it buried?" Marcus shrugged. "Small department, tight-knit. You know how it goes." Lena didn't respond. She knew too well. As a rookie cop to decades ago, she'd seen good officers silenced and bad ones shielded. That's why she'd left the beat for oversight to hold the system accountable. Even when it fought back, she sent her report to the review board, flagging it for priority, but keeping her name off the initial submission to avoid cries of bias. By noon, whispers were circulating in the office. Marcus caught her in the hallway. "Carver's stop is trending internally," he said. "Someone leaked the body cam request." Lena's jaw tightened. Leaks meant politics, and politics meant pressure. She returned to her office and called her mentor, retired Judge Evelyn Brooks, a no-nonsense woman who'd guided Lena through every career pivot. "Lena, you're stirring a hornet's nest," Evelyn said over the phone. "Carver's got friends in Willow Creek. You sure you want this fight?" "It's not about what," Lena said. "It's about what's right." Across town, Trent Carver sat in his patrol car, his shift just starting. His phone buzzed with a text from his partner, Officer Jake Ruiz. "Heard OPAS sniffing around your stop last night." "What did you do?" Carver's stomach churned. He'd run Lena's name through the department database after the stop, expecting to find a civilian with a chip on her shoulder. Instead, he'd seen her title, Director, Office of Police Accountability. The realization had hit like a punch. He'd targeted the one woman who could end his career. Carver wasn't a reflective man. He saw himself as a cop doing his job, keeping order in a town where outsiders in fancy cars raised suspicions. Lena's calm defiance had grated on him, her badge a slap in the face. Now, he doubled down. He typed a quick report, claiming Lena had been uncooperative and evasive, hoping to spin the stop as routine. But as he hit submit, a nagging doubt crept in. Her phone had been recording. That afternoon, Lena met with the review board's chair, Sarah Nguyen, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for fairness. Sarah watched the footage in silence, her expression unreadable. "This is airtight," she said finally. "But Carver's not the only problem. Willow Creek's chief has a history of burying complaints. You push this, it's not just one officer." "I know," Lena said. "But if we don't push now, nothing changes." Sarah nodded. "I'll convene the panel. Expect blowback." Lena left the meeting with a fire in her chest. She wasn't naive. She'd faced threats, anonymous letters, even slashed tires when she first took the director role. But every case she closed, every officer held accountable, was a step toward the system she'd promised to build as a young cop watching her community distrust the badge. At home that evening, Aisha noticed her mom's quiet intensity. "You're doing that thing where you're planning a war," she teased, setting a plate of tacos on the table. Lena chuckled. "Just trying to make things better, baby." "For who?" Aisha asked, her eyes searching. "For you," Lena said, softly. "For everyone who deserves a fair shot." As Lena lay in bed that night, replaying Carver's smirk, she knew the real work was just beginning. The ripple from that stop was spreading, and she was ready to ride the wave. The conference room on the 5th floor of the Office of Police Accountability OPA in Raleigh was a fortress of silence, the kind that hums with unspoken stakes. It was mid-morning, 2 weeks after Dr. Lena Harper's traffic stop by Officer Trent Carver, and the room held 8 investigators, a legal counsel, and a stenographer, all seated around a long oak table. Lena stood at the front, her navy blazer crisp, her expression unyielding yet calm. She held a slim folder, but its contents carried the weight of a career, hers and Carver's. The projector was ready, and the air felt like it was holding its breath. "Let's begin," Lena said, her voice steady as she pressed play. The screen lit up with body cam footage from that night on Cypress Lane. Carver's approach, his clipped tone accusing her of speeding, his vague claim of a stolen vehicle report, and his escalation after seeing her badge as director of OPA. The video captured his smirk, his hand hovering near his radio, and the moment his confidence faltered when Lena held up her credentials. No one in the room spoke. The footage ended, and Lena set the remote down. "This wasn't a mistake," she said. "It was misconduct, deliberate and targeted." She slid the folder across the table to Jonas Carter, a veteran investigator with graying temples and a reputation for cutting through bureaucratic fog. "Officer Carver's record," Lena said. 5 complaints over 7 years, 3 detentions without documented cause, 2 allegations of verbal intimidation, and a rookie's transfer request citing hostile and biased conduct. All dismissed without investigation. Jonas flipped through the pages, his pen tapping once. "You're saying Willow Creek PD buried these?" "I'm saying the system buried them," Lena replied. "Carver's not an outlier, he's a symptom." The room stirred. Sarah Nguyen, the review board's chair, leaned forward, her sharp eyes scanning the folder. "You've got evidence, Lena. But this is a small department. Chief Hammond's been there 30 years. He'll fight this." "Then let him," Lena said. "The evidence speaks for itself." The panel debated for 3 hours. Some, like junior investigator Carla Ruiz, argued Carver's actions were overzealous policing, rather than intentional bias. Others, including Jonas, pointed to the pattern. Every complaint involved a person of color, and none had been properly reviewed. Lena stayed silent, having recused herself from the vote to avoid accusations of personal vendetta. Her presence alone was enough. Every investigator knew her reputation for precision and fairness. Meanwhile, in Willow Creek, Trent Carver was unraveling. Suspended pending the OPAS review, he sat in his patrol car outside the precinct, staring at his phone. A text from his partner, Jake Ruiz, burned in his mind. "OPAS got your footage. Word is, Harper's pushing hard." Carver's pulse raced. He'd run Lena's name through the department database after the stop, expecting a civilian he could dismiss. Instead, he'd found her title, Director, Office of Police Accountability. The woman he'd tried to intimidate held his career in her hands. Carver wasn't introspective. To him, the stop was routine. Lena was just another driver in a nice car. Too confident for his liking. Her calm defiance, her badge, her refusal to shrink under his authority had stung. Now, he doubled down, filing a report claiming Lena was uncooperative and potentially evasive. But as he hit submit, a memory nagged, her phone, recording every word. Back at OPA, Lena's phone rang. It was Malik Evans, a former rookie undercover who'd transferred to Durham PD after 6 months. "Dr. Harper," he said, his voice low but firm. "I saw the footage online, someone leaked it. What happened to you?" "It's what I saw with Carver. He'd target Black and Latino drivers, push them to react, then write it up as suspicious behavior. I should have reported it." "You're speaking now," Lena said. "Will you give a formal statement?" Malik hesitated. Then, "Yes, I'll do it." His testimony, along with statements from 2 other complainants, a Black teenager and a Latina mother, tipped the scales by day's end. The panel voted 6-2 to recommend Carver's termination and a full audit of Willow Creek PD's complaint process. Sarah Nguyen met Lena in her office afterward. "You've got your win," she said, "but this is bigger than Carver." Hammond's circling the wagons. "You're sure about this?" Lena nodded. "If we stop now, the next stop on Cypress Lane ends the same way." The fallout came fast. Local news ran segments questioning OPAS aggressive oversight. Anonymous social media accounts targeted Lena, calling her a cop basher. And worse, a brick shattered her office window with a note, "Leave Willow Creek alone." Lena reported it, undeterred, and doubled down on the audit, pulling records that revealed a dozen more uninvestigated complaints, not just against Carver but across the department. At home, Aisha noticed her mother's strain. "Mom, you're barely sleeping," she said, setting a plate of spaghetti on the table. "Why do you keep fighting?" Lena took her daughter's hand, thinking of her own father, a bus driver who'd faced daily slights with quiet dignity. "Because I promised myself I'd make things better for you, for him, for everyone who doesn't have a badge to flash." Aisha's eyes softened. "You're already doing that." The audit launched the next week, with Lena leading a team of investigators into Willow Creek's records. Carver's termination was finalized, but Lena knew one firing wasn't enough. The system needed surgery, and she was holding the scalpel. 6 months later, Lena stood at a podium in Willow Creek's community center, facing a crowd of over 100 residents, officers, activists, and reporters. The OPAS audit had exposed a rot in the department, 27 uninvestigated complaints, skewed stop data targeting minority drivers, and a culture that rewarded silence. Chief Hammond had resigned under pressure, replaced by interim Chief Maria Delgado, a reform advocate. Tonight's town hall was the first step toward rebuilding trust. Lena adjusted the microphone, her badge tucked in her pocket. "I'm not here to vilify anyone," she said. "I'm here because I believe in a system that protects everyone. That starts with truth and listening." She shared her story, her father's struggles as a Black man in a prejudiced town, her years as a cop facing skepticism from colleagues, and the night Carver stopped her on Cypress Lane. "I could have let it go," she said, "but silence protects the wrong people. We're here to build something better." The crowd was tense but engaged. Questions came fast. A white officer asked, "How do we do our jobs if OPAS always watching?" Lena replied, "Your job is to serve, not intimidate. OPAS here to help you do that right." A Black teenager stood, his voice shaking. "How do I trust cops after being stopped 3 times for nothing?" Lena met his gaze. "You don't until they prove they're different. That's why we're changing the system." After the event, Malik Evans approached her. "I'm training recruits now," he said, "teaching them to question bias, to follow protocol. Your case pushed me to step up." Lena smiled. "We're all stepping up." The audit's impact rippled. Willow Creek PD implemented mandatory bias training and a civilian review board. OPA secured state funding for community liaisons to bridge the gap between police and residents. Lena's name surfaced for a federal oversight role, but she declined. "Willow Creek's my fight," she told Sarah Nguyen. "I'm not done." At home, Aisha showed Lena her college application essay, titled "Justice Runs in My Blood." It detailed Lena's courage, ending with, "My mom taught me that truth is a weapon, and I'll carry it forward." Lena teared up, hugging her daughter. "You're my why," she whispered. One evening, Lena drove down Cypress Lane, the pines casting long shadows. She thought of Carver, now a security guard, his badge revoked. She thought of the complaints she'd resolved, the families who'd thanked her, the work still ahead. Most of all, she thought of her father, who'd never lived to see her lead. "I'm keeping my promise," she murmured. Her phone buzzed. "Marcus, new case, boss, another department." "Same pattern," Ewan, Lena typed back. Always. The road was long. But Lena Harper was built for it. Her badge, her truth, her legacy.